Hi, this is Alan Shea with Our Society. We're here today on Glen Arms at a historic moment in time here in Pasadena. Have a great crowd of people here today. So we're going to open up here with the ceremony and close up afterwards with some interviews. So stay with us and enjoy today's show. This is Alan Shea with Our Society. Thank you.
Good morning, and I want to welcome all of you. And what a great turnout we have for this significant event that we have this morning. I want to share kind of my personal story quickly about it, and then I'll introduce the mayor and a couple of my colleagues, and then we'll have the official unveiling. So I was actually lucky enough to meet President Obama for the first time I think it was in late 2007, when he was just starting to campaign for president. And of course I mentioned within about the first 10 seconds that I was on the city council in Pasadena. And his eyes lit up and he said, "I love Pasadena." He said, "I lived in Pasadena my sophomore year when I was at Occidental College, and I had such a great time living in Pasadena." And he said, "I'm trying to remember the name of the street where I lived." He said, "Started with a G." And I said, "Green Street?" Because Green is mostly in my district, and I wanted him to be over there.
Good try, Steve.
We finally figured out it was Glen Arm. And he said, "Steve, one of the reasons I transferred to Columbia was I was having too much fun in Pasadena." And I needed to really buckle down and hit the books. And of course, I don't think the president ever got, an A- in his life, let alone, so I think that was humorous. But so then after he was elected, I've been fortunate enough to spend time with him on 5 or 6 or more occasions, and literally every time now, it's become like a running joke between us. We talk about his time in Pasadena, all of the fun that he had. He's joked with me, "Don't tell Michelle, what a great time I had as a young man there." And obviously, we all know what a special place Pasadena is. But it's really an honor for someone to occupy that position, to have a connection, a personal connection to our great city. And there are analogs for this. I know that, for example, at the home on Pepper Street where Jack and Mac Robinson lived, we have a plaque very similar to this. So a few years ago, I started talking to the staff, the city manager, and others about honoring and celebrating this special location. And my thinking was, if you look at, we have 44 presidents in the history of our country. And today, certainly, it's not uncommon probably for those presidents to have lived in a number of different places as they've gone off to college or what have you. But probably for the first 100 or 150 years, the president would be from Mount Vernon, let's say, where George Washington was from, and then Washington, D.C. And they wouldn't have that many places. And so my guess is, I haven't done the research, but my guess is if you added up all of the hometowns of all of our presidents, it would be a surprisingly low number. So I really think it's appropriate and proper and very fitting that we acknowledge the man and the office in this way, so that in the future with guidebooks and what have you, everyone will know that a president lived here, and we do produce greatness, in our city in some small way, shape, or form. So through the working with the city manager staff and the library staff, we were able to hone in on this address, and we had a number of different sources for it, including phone books and other records. And in fact, this is the address, this apartment building behind me, and it is the same building today as it was in 1980-81 when President Obama lived here in his sophomore year at Occidental College, and we were able to confirm that. And so I'm really excited and honored to do this today, and I want to now ask our mayor, Terry Tornick, who represented this district prior to becoming our mayor, to come up and say a word. And then we'll also hear from my friends and colleagues, Andy Wilson and John Kennedy, who have their own personal stories to add. And then I'll come back and we'll do the unveiling. So, Terry, thank you for being here.
Well, good morning. History is a sort of a quirky thing and delivers some unexpected twists and turns. So who would have ever expected that a young man with a very diverse background would be here and go on to be the 44th President of the United States? Pasadena has long honored and been interested in and celebrated its built environment and very much the people who have lived in it. And I think that our interest in that has served us well because it enriches our community to know where we've come from and what we're about. And I think it's a big piece of what makes Pasadena a very special place. And who knows, one day if some student from Blair High School will happen by this plaque and be inspired to do something great in the future. So I congratulate the efforts of council members Madison and Kennedy and of course Andy Wilson and the city staff for pursuing this. I think this is an important event. It's a small piece of history, but it's something else to sort of remind people, as Steve said, what a special place Pasadena really is. And with that, I'll turn it over to our host, my host council colleague, Andy Wilson.
Thanks, Terry. What a gorgeous day for this event. How lucky we are to live in Pasadena. I'm just thinking. The rain has come through, the sky is clear, and what a great day to have this celebration. So Steve and staff, thank you for putting this together. And two things that resonated for me. One is, now that I'm getting into service, and I've been a council person close to 2 years, it's an incredible way to give back to our community. And I look at this plaque as a way to celebrate 8 years of service for our president, and hopefully, as the mayor said, inspire people to provide and get involved in service. I think it's a bit of a challenging time to think about service, but without people who give their time to serve our community, we don't have leadership. And I think it's important that we celebrate to our kids. I remember my notes. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Not is only Steve a good-looking man, but I do think to acknowledge the role of people who provide leadership in our certainly at our national level and state, and certainly my colleagues here, is an important part of making our society work. Be a little bit more kind of localized here. How lucky we are! Literally up the street is the home of Julie Childs. Do you think about that up the street? So the people maybe who aren't into politics or into cooking. So we have history up the street. On my street where I live on Oakland Avenue, who knows who lives on Oakland Avenue? Albert Einstein. So 3 blocks away, we have Albert Einstein's house. And if you're into science, you go a few more blocks away, and on Holiday Road, you have George Ellery Hale's office and observatory. So the history of Pasadena is truly extraordinary. And of course, it's nice to have so much of it here in District 7. So thank you for coming out and acknowledging our history and frankly, homage to people who serve. And thank you, Steve and Steph, for putting it together. John's next.
Good morning. I had a difficult time thinking about what to say to you, so I've only prepared very brief remarks, but my sister Lena and I hosted Senator Obama and Mrs. Obama about a year before the campaign here in Pasadena. At that time, of course, I did not know that he actually lived in Pasadena. I'm glad that our illustrious mayor mentioned that there might be someone who attended Blair High School would see this plaque and would be inspired, since I attended Blair High School and was student body president there. Thank you. So there's hope for me beyond serving in Pasadena and on the city council. So I've been with the president probably 50 to 75 times. Of late, meaning in the past 4 years, I've constantly done what some people refer to as shameful persistence. I've asked the president every time, not missing a beat, that he needs to come back to Pasadena, his home, because Pasadena was part of his formative years in terms of leadership. He first gave his one of his first speeches he gave right here in the city of Pasadena. when I spoke to him on one occasion about Pasadena, we were in a small setting, and he opened up and he said there were so many things that he had done in this city that he did not want people to know about. And so, in all of my shameful persistence, I'm wondering, does he think that some of that would become public, particularly what the Russians have done as it relates to the recent election? But in all sincerity and seriously thinking about the importance of today, all politics is local, and we as Americans and citizens and residents of this great city and this great country need to recognize that we are all just ordinary people, and as we interact with one another, we burnish each other and we let each other know about what our plight is. That forms those who want to be leaders so they can lead the people. Pasadena is fortunate not only to help raise up our president, but as you may know that we've had a Secretary of Defense come from Pasadena. We have Secretary of the Air Force come from Pasadena, the Orr family. We've had the Secretary of HEW, Bob Finch, come from Pasadena. We've had Dorothy Nelson on the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, who was considered to become the first woman on the Supreme Court when Sandra Day O'Connor was named. We had U.S. District Court Judge Dickran Trevisan, who was confirmed 99-0 because the senator from Mississippi was in a hospital. I assume that he would have been confirmed 100, which is obviously rare in terms of confirmation proceedings in the current environment that we experience in this country. So, I want to give a quick shout out to my sister Lena Kennedy, who was recently appointed by President Obama to the John F. Kennedy Board in Washington, D.C. And I also would like to hone in for those who may have a platform to share our comments nationally, that I'm still very hopeful that the president, with all the numerous things that a president has to do to lead this country, would pause for a moment and bring that big bird in the sky called Air Force One. Can't land here in Pasadena, but we have an airport close by. And he has been here on several occasions, but it hasn't been announced. He was on Marine One and they flew into the Rose Bowl, but we wanted obviously a much more public event. And I just want to say to you, Mr. President, all of the good people, the ordinary people of the city of Pasadena are welcoming you home. Recently, when we were together at Chaim Saban's home, you promised us that you would come to Pasadena before you left office. And we want to hold you to that promise because you're a man of integrity. Thank you.
I always feel underdressed when I'm with John.
I think you feel better.
And like I haven't spoken for long enough, but that's another. You know, it's the mayor should be thanked for this weather. Yesterday at this time, it was a little bit different. So thank you, Terry, for arranging that. And it's really a remarkable story that this young man raised by a single mom would become a brilliant lawyer, a dedicated public servant, a highly placed elected official. And President Obama's story, too, is remarkable. But I agree completely. This should be an inspiration to every child, every young person in Pasadena. And, you know, I was going to say that it's really proof positive in our country, with education and hard work, you can reach the sky. And that anybody in our country can be elected president. Somehow that message is even clearer after the last election. But I do want to get to the unveiling. I want to thank some really key staff members, some of whom are here and some of whom couldn't be here. But first and foremost, the city manager, Steve Mermel, who worked tirelessly on that. I want to thank the property owner, David Bryant, who was gracious in allowing us to be here this morning. A couple of the human services employees who worked hard on this, Kenny James and Dolores Mendoza. Lola Osborne and the youth ambassadors who you see around from the city manager's office. And Rochelle Branch, the head of Cultural Affairs, Division Planning and Community Development. Also, Pasadena Media is here and providing the coverage, and I see George Bilardo and his staff here, so thank you very much. And I see Teresa Lamb-Simpson here from Adam Schiff's office, and Adam, Teresa, thank you for being here. And I think at this point we should unveil this dignified, elegant, but I think very significant plaque for President Obama and for the city of Pasadena. So.
We'll just get that out of the way. Very good.
Please come up as we break, and you see it. Yes, I'll read it. It says, in commemoration, former residents, 1980-1981, the Honorable Barack H. Obama, 44th President of the United States of America, 253 East Glenarm Street, Pasadena, California. So we'll take some photos, and then please hang around and come up and take some photos yourself. It's a special day. Thank you for being here.
This is Alan Shea, and we're here with our mayor today and the leader who has demonstrated how wonderful Pasadena is and the viewers. We're going to hear from our mayor's voice. How did you enjoy the service and think about this great weather?
Oh, look, the weather's always great, but this event is important. As I said in my remarks, I think people really treasure history in Pasadena. They understand what the built environment is about. They understand the people that lived here that really make this a unique place. And the fact that this is a short time, that President Obama only lived here a short time, doesn't reduce the fact that he's yet another one in a long list of people who have made, both famous and not so famous, that have made Pasadena the kind of city that it is, because we know what our past was, so we can move forward into the future with that knowledge and feel confident about the future.
Well, we certainly thank you. And just to let the viewers know, with Terry, our Mayor Terry Turnick, we're going to have a great future, especially in light of our new administration.
Thank you. I look forward to it.
Thank you. We're back, and we have the mayor's next right-hand man, our city manager, and he's going to share with us, what did you think of today's ceremony and our great weather?
Well, first of all, the weather's fantastic. Coming off of yesterday's rain, we should have this on January 2nd when we do the parade and the football game. I think today's ceremony was really perfect, hit the right tone. It's apolitical. It's really about recognizing the fact that our 44th president resided in Pasadena. I think the plaque is very tasteful. I'm heartened by the number of people who came out to join us today, and I think it's great. And as you heard Councilmember Wilson rattle off the many famous people that have lived in Pasadena, yes, it's testament to what a vibrant community this really is, and I'm sure in the future many more famous people like Alan Shea will come from Pasadena.
Well, thank you. Well, Alan Shea and his growth has come from your leadership, and I certainly thank you for the opportunity you've given me over the last 6 years to serve as a Pasadena commissioner and hopefully to empower a greater community for the future.
Well, thank you for your dedication to the community and all that you're doing to make Pasadena a great place to live.
Well, thank you, Steve. I appreciate it.
Take care.
And we're back. We were able to sneak up behind the city council member who actually this is your district.
It is
so
indeed.
it must really hold a lot of great opportunities.
Yeah,
to showcase, I should say, how many famous people came out of your district?
So, Pasadena is a great draw for all sorts of interesting people. And of course, I'm biased. I think District 7 really has magnetism. And, recognizing the president having lived here is part of that history. Of course, right up the street, we had Julia Childs, a famous, cookbook chef and all those things. And around the corner from that, Albert Einstein. So this is where all happens in Pasadena in District 7. So we're thrilled to acknowledge the history here. And as I mentioned in my comments, I also think it's important to acknowledge the service of people in the presidency and other public service that really makes the world go round. So inspiring kids as they walk by to think about service, important message as well.
Right. Well, the beauty of it is when we can showcase the dynamics of Pasadena, not only the past, but in our current position, such as you, bringing this to the attention of Pasadena and the residents. That's a great monumental step, and I commend you for that.
Thank you so much. And I'd say the real goal is to acknowledge the history, but inspire young generations to think about the future and what role they can play in it.
Absolutely. We thank you so much,
Thank you.
Councilman.
What a great day.
Absolutely. Hi, we're back. We have one of Pasadena's finest.
Sir,
how you doing,
how
Mark?
are you? Good to see you again.
Well, I get excited when I'm around you. We were together yesterday.
Yesterday, and the week before that,
and the week before that,
I think the week before that,
and the week before that.
We can't get away from each other.
I don't know, but you know what I do know? Love Pasadena.
As do I, sir.
And so, tell the viewers, what did you think about today's ceremony and most of our weather?
The weather is fantastic. Great ceremony today, commemorating President Barack Obama. I think that we should make an effort to potentially not only do this in front of this home, but other homes throughout Pasadena who also are famous, and we may not know it. One of the council members mentioned Albert Einstein. No idea that he lived here in Pasadena prior to him mentioning it. So what a great opportunity. Opportunities here for individuals who are interested in law enforcement. Please, if you're interested in law enforcement, get in touch with myself or any other police department person, and we're glad to point you in the right direction. We need new individuals that are interested in law enforcement to come into law enforcement. It's a great career, great opportunities, and we're looking at an infusion of new people into the department constantly moving forward. So great opportunities, great time to be interested in law enforcement, especially here in Pasadena. An exciting time.
Well, and I must say, as a commissioner who has looked into the various programs for Pasadena Police Department, it's a great outreach. And for those who don't know, they should go onto your website, look at all the opportunities that are now available, look at the various programs, and see really how committed the Pasadena Police is
Absolutely.
to Pasadena and its constituents, its residents.
No question. We have programs that literally can take children through grade school and get them involved in police department activities and events. And if they're interested, they could actually become explorers, cadets, be part of our PAL program, and actually be mentored by our officers through school, and then have opportunities to become police officers in the very area that they grew up in, which is exactly what happened to me and some of the other officers who actually got hired here and are able to serve every day the people that we grew up around and know and love.
Well, we certainly appreciate you giving us this time, Mark.
It's my pleasure,
I always
sir.
look forward to standing next to you and getting the interviews.
Likewise, as always.
Thank you. Thank you. We're back, and we're here with the, should I say, master of ceremony and the head guy who thought up the idea. Is that safe to say?
I can't deny it.
Okay.
So.
Well, if I may share with the viewers, every time I'm around Steve, he kind of gives me this new inspiration about civic engagement.
Thank you.
The last time we were able to capture an interview with you was at the BCS bowl game.
I remember that vividly.
And in fact, we're going to air it next week.
Awesome.
Yeah, great piece, and you were incredible.
Thank you.
And you are a man who's always a thinker. And I hope the viewers, especially the young viewers, really get a sense of the commitment that goes into seeking out all aspects of the community so that everybody can receive the benefits and everybody can see the value. Why don't you share with the viewers the value of today, starting with our weather?
I'd be happy to. Yeah, I thank the mayor for arranging this wonderful weather, because 24 hours ago we were in torrential downpour and icy winds and all the rest, and today truly not a cloud in the sky. But I think what's important about this is, I really believe that the great thing about our country is that in our country, with hard work and education, the sky's the limit. Every young person can reach his or her full potential. And even in this century, this modern day, most of the world, it's not like that. If you don't come from a particular social class or from a particular economic background, you're really limited in those countries. And I think that's one of the reasons why the whole world, as it were, is beating our door down to come here and share in this. And so I do feel a real affinity with the president. Of course, my accomplishments are a fraction of his, but I was raised by a single mom as he was. I went to law school on student loans and scholarships. I became a lawyer, I became an elected official, and I think that's the big message for today. Those kids out there who may walk by and see this should know, whatever your sort of position in life is, hard work, education, you can become even the leader of the free world, as the president has.
Wow, well, and I think if the viewers can see how important it is to capture each step of our history, that it's not just an act in a vacuum. You have to take these fundamental steps, and with those fundamental steps, you cultivate a real history that everybody can embrace.
It's so true, absolutely. And I mentioned Jackie and Mac Robinson's residence here. We have a very similar plaque there, and I was joking with a young person yesterday that maybe someday there'll be a plaque with her name on it, in front of her home in Pasadena. So that's the goal.
Right. Well, we certainly thank you for
Thank you. It was great
hosting
seeing
this
you.
and being the brainchild of making this happen
Thank you
for
for
us.
coming. It's been a long time in the works, but I think the timing really worked out because he's at the end of his term, and this certainly isn't political. It's
Right.
more about service and about the honor of having the President of the United States having lived here.
Absolutely.
So,
Hi, this is Alan Shea, and we were fortunate enough to grab one of the residents of the district here who's viewing this incredible day. So why don't you share with the viewers your name and really what did you think of the ceremony?
Well, I think it was appropriate. I think it was short, and I think it was full of feeling. And on a day like this, just absolutely beautiful day, was perfect. And I think you'd also look at that. Well, I lived in an apartment like that when I went to college, and I didn't realize that from such apartments greatness comes, but it does, And I think, I think we will look back and realize that just going to the local school, you don't know where that's going to bring you. That took one gentleman here to the White House. So I think we ought to appreciate what we have around us more.
Wow, that was so poetic. That was powerful. I wanted to make sure I grabbed this gentleman because when I first got here, he had inquired about what we were doing and what channels, and I shared with him how wonderful our community is and how important it is to share with everybody what we offer here in Pasadena as a community. And the best way for us to do that is through sharing and making sure that our media display the real riches that we have here in Pasadena.
We're lucky to live in Pasadena.